From the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., this is Update One, the club's official podcast. It features newsworthy stories originating from the NPC facilities, as well as broader topics related to journalism, communications, press freedom, and transparency.
Welcome to another edition of the National Press Club Update One podcast. I'm Lincoln Smith, podcast committee member, and with this conversation, we are joined by African journalist Mr. Oral Ofori, who also happens to be a Ghanaian-American. Mr. Ofori is based in Washington, D.C. metro area. Welcome, Oral Ofori.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are an award-winning digital media producer, blogger, freelance journalist, entrepreneur, and writer. Can you share with us a bit more about your career?
Yeah, thankfully, I have a big enough head to fit all these hats on. So I'm proud about that. I just feel like I'm blessed to have the opportunity to dabble in a lot of things. It makes me feel like I'm able to give more of myself because a lot of people gave a lot of themselves to get me where I'm at today. So I started journalism school at the London School of Journalism, and when I graduated back in 2006, actually, I was seeking internship opportunities. So I landed out here in the United States at the Voice of America in late 2006, early 2007. What I came here for was to just pursue an internship at the Voice of America in Washington, D.C. I was placed at the English to Africa service of the VOA, where I was helping to report, sometimes produce, write stories for the English broadcast to the African continent as far as the Voice of America is concerned. Now, way before that, back in Ghana, around 2005, 2006, I was writing for a couple of the national dailies. The biggest paper that I ever wrote for in Ghana was the Ghanaian Times newspaper. It's a very old publication. It's a print publication. And they had the Evening News, which is a pre-colonial newspaper, which I had the opportunity of writing for before it eventually shut down. The Evening News was a paper that those fighting for Ghana's independence and eventually some of the West African countries who were also agitating for independence from British colonial rule would write on. And thankfully, I happened to be one of the last people that wrote for that paper, and so that was great.
You are the founder of the U.S.-based communication consultancy, the African Dream, LLC.
Right.
Can you tell us a bit more about the African Dream?
So the African Dream is an information and communication research consultancy. It came about when I felt the need to be able to tell the African story from an African perspective. I felt like the story of Africa is very unique and needed to be told by people who really understood the continent and were able to present the nature of the continent to people who are not from the continent or outside of the continent. That way we can present a clearer and more better picture and representation of what the continent is about. And I felt like if you needed to get the job done, then you might as well pitch in and help do it yourself. Like they say, we're the change that we've been waiting for. So I got tired of waiting to see something like that, and I decided to create it.
Indeed, you currently work with the Embassy of Ghana in Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
Under Ambassador Alima Mahama.
Mm-hmm.
What are your duties and responsibilities in this capacity?
So I'm the consular officer in charge of customer relations at the Embassy of Ghana in Washington, D.C., you rightly said, under Ambassador Alima Mahama. She's, point to note, the first woman ambassador from Ghana to be appointed to the USA. So that's unique in its own space. She's also an amazing diplomat. She's done quite an incredibly great job when she started out. A lot of new initiative has been able to kick off under her leadership, and I think it's just an endless opportunity for the world to see what she has to offer as an ambassador. What I do basically is to help bridge the gap between the public and the embassy as far as customer relations and customer service is concerned. We are not a perfect embassy, but we are doing our best to be one of the greatest embassies out there. I wouldn't say I was sent to fix the problem. I don't think there are problems. There are challenges, and every once in a while, someone is brought in to help, inject some positive energy. And I feel like Ambassador Hajia Alima Mahama is one of such persons, and I'm always, grateful that she pulled me in to help, champion the dream and the aspirations she has for the embassy. So I'm the link. Not you as in Lincoln, but I'm the link between the embassy and the public when it comes to that, and that's what I do.
Indeed. You are a columnist for the Ghanaian news websites Ghana Web, Modern Ghana, and the U.S.-based African Post newspaper.
Right.
Can you highlight some of your work with each of these websites and the newspaper?
So Modern Ghana and ultimately Ghana Web are some of the biggest news websites in Ghana. They try to put out authentic and credible, information regarding Ghana, and eventually they've grown to cover most of the West African sub-region. And with the advent of the internet, they've gone global and well known by Ghanaians living in and outside of the country or in the diaspora. And so what I do is to help write. I'm a columnist, like you rightly said. I sometimes edit, I proofread, do some copy editing occasionally, and I have respective columns with these respective news websites. And with the African Post, which is a newspaper, I started working with them on some light on the ongoings and activities within the respective African communities in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia areas, and then recently roping in New York and the Carolinas, and, wherever there is news about, Africa and bias in their bias towards Ghanaians, but then after existing for all this while, they become a welcoming home for other respective African countries to share their news stories and ideas and announcements and all that amazing stuff.
Let's go back to 2018.
Yeah.
That year, you were recognized for the production of over 59 episodes of the African Dream Show.
Yeah.
And that's aired on Fairfax, Virginia Public Access Television,
Indeed.
Channel 30. Can you tell us more about the episodes for which you received the awards?
So as far as my show on Fairfax Public Access is concerned, as we speak today, in 2022 of August, I have passed 80 episodes. So it's been quite a milestone, I started this out in Connecticut. My wife is originally from Wallingford in Connecticut, and I was taking a walk with her, and we saw this public access radio station and radio and TV station. It's a media house, if you would say. And I'm like, let's walk in there. And she's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, it's a media house. I'm into media. Let's go see what's up. So we walk in there, and I speak to the manager, and I'm like, this is what I do. Do you have any opportunities for me here? And they were like, yeah. And literally back in 2013, 2014, the African Dream show was born in Wallingford, Connecticut. And it didn't take more than a year and a half, and we won our first recognition. One of my episodes being tagged as one of the episodes that helps build and create diversity through TV. And I interviewed this young professor from Stellenbosch University in South Africa. He was in the US back then, and we just talked about the life of Nelson Mandela and all that. And the station loved it, and they're like, let's put it out there in the in the tournament and see if you get any recognition. And it happened just like that. We were recognized for being one of the most, diverse show and program at the time. And then I moved back to the Washington, D.C. area and did the same thing, walked up to Fairfax Public Access TV, and I'm like, hey, I have this show, and no more back there in Connecticut. I'm out here. You guys have any room for me? And they're like, yeah. And, we picked up right from where we left off. We hit 50 episodes, and, they're like, dude, do you realize you've produced 50 episodes of the show already? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, it's not just me. It's everyone that helps to, chip in as I, do the production. And I'm thankful to everyone. I feel like I always go back to saying it's a blessing. It's just an opportunity that many people will kill for. And if I have it, I feel like I need to make the most of it.
Part of a recent post by you on Twitter says, quote, compete with yourself. Yes, your yesterday's self. As a people, our real competition should be with ourselves and not with others. End quote. Can you expand on this post?
I think your greatest enemy is yourself. Your greatest supporter is yourself. So you're your own victory flag carrier and you're your own adversary. Which way you end up on the scale depends on the kind of energy you invest in the direction you want your life to take. So, and with the advent of social media where everyone is trying hard to impress and to, create an illusion or a situation about themselves that is not really what is happening, behind closed doors. I felt like maybe put something out there and let people go back to believing in themselves, to realizing that they are their own heroes if they want to win, and to not always, point fingers if they're not winning, but to appreciate the fact that they have an opportunity to become winners if they want to. It's just how they want to steer their boat and which side of the scale they want to be on. So I'm like, I call Facebook brag book. It's where you go to brag, but people are like, you make all this weird posts. You're very Afrocentric sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm very Afrocentric because I'm a proud Ghanaian, I'm a proud African, and I feel like the African story needs to be told, and if I have the opportunity to be alive and to breathe and I can tell it, I'll do my bit. And so, just do the best you can in your own small corner, and if you believe in karma and fate, good will come your way. So just be your own hero. Don't be afraid to take chances, and don't allow negative energy to hold you down, including negative energy from yourself.
And to the African story, indeed, you are originally from Ghana.
Yes.
What is the level of press freedom in Ghana?
Ghana is doing the best it can. We've had our challenges, we've had our difficulties as far as press freedom is concerned, but I feel like we're in a dispensation where each government, as it comes and goes, is doing the best it can to enhance press freedom, to make it better than the former government had it. But I feel like we're also at that place where we could do better, where, we could create more opportunities for media consumers and those who help, influence the trajectory of the media, and put in opportunities that will help the pressmen and, dare I say, the presswomen as well, do their jobs effectively and become the fourth estate, the fourth realm of the estate in all democratic dispensations.
As a continent, what is the level of press freedom in Africa?
It varies, like I'll tell you. So for countries enjoying the highest level of press freedom based on research and surveys conducted by Statista and the other world press bodies, I'll put Seychelles Island. It's in East Africa. It's a beautiful island nation. And Namibia is also in East Africa. I mean, in Southern Africa, as the countries with the topmost press freedom index, and these countries are doing amazing as far as creating an enabling environment in which the journalists and the press and the media practitioners can thrive. And kudos to them. Of course, when there are instances where countries deserve praise, you give them the praise. Where they deserve a little bit of nudge, to push them to do better, you do the same. So as far as nations that have the poorest or most unfortunate state of press freedom in Africa is concerned, I'll look at Eritrea and Egypt. Egypt is in Northeast Africa, and Eritrea is in East Africa. So these countries have been struggling internally, and I guess that's what is also affecting the press inside these countries and creating the difficulty that journalism and media work, is faced with by practitioners in these countries. But they're also doing their best. But I feel like they could do better, and we do the best we can in our own respective ways. Thankfully, new and modern technology has allowed the opportunity for practitioners in the field to still get that story out there, to still get the news out there. And, that is helping. Sometimes people do it at the peril of their own lives. And so I feel like we should be very, supportive of the work of media practitioners, the press in general, and we should realize, like I had said earlier on, the press, the media is the fourth realm of the estate in a democracy. And so besides the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, we need to also afford the media not only the respect it deserves, but the enabling environment within which it can carry out its mandate to the people.
With the advent of the internet, could it be said that the level of press freedom has increased in Africa?
It is increasing, but in very small portions. The reason I say this is because there are certain nations that still make it difficult for journalists to thrive, to practice, or even to be. And so, but then with the new media, the social media and everything, there are bloggers who are coming out there and who are wearing the mantle and trying to be, the mouthpiece of the people for the people, and they're doing a great job. Others, of course, are in there for the clicks and, just for the follow and for the fame. But a few of them are doing a great job. And I'd like to mention this young, amazing man in Nigeria. He's known as Omojua. He's an amazing guy doing an amazing, work in the media. This young woman in Ghana, Jamila Abdullahi, she's doing, awesome. This young man in Ghana, Ameya Deborah, he's an amazing blogger. He's gone, global with his work. And there are lots and lots of other people that I can mention that I want to be like when I grow up.
What is considered the mainstream media in Africa?
Straight out, I'll say television, because the level of education, as far as the world sees education, in my opinion, where you have to go through like formal training through a school system to become educated, is not rampant. We most of as Africans are highly educated in our own norms and in our own traditions and in our own customs that, Westerners and probably non-Africans might not consider as education, but it's still education in an amazing way, And so, because of somehow the lack of education as meets the Western standard is limiting, so people will not tend to read a lot. And thanks to social media, it's helped worsen the situation where the attention span becomes very limited. Everyone wants what they want, and they want it now, and they want it their way. And so they can easily get distracted or become bored, and that also limits the access to knowledge, education, and information. But these same things that create the debilitating effect on the press also have come in to help, boost and enhance it. People are organizing. People are realizing that they can use social media to reach the world if they know how to organize it, if they know how to channel, and if they know how to use these respective social media resources at their disposal, at their fingertips.
And with that, in closing, can you further spotlight what you believe the overall changes, really the biggest ones, are that you've observed over time with both print and broadcast media in both Ghana and Africa?
What quickly comes to mind is the fact that the internet has allowed, the spreading of the tentacles of the print and electronic media in Africa much wider. Is reaching more audience because, like, for instance, the national newspapers have now online extension where people can go to read stuff. The art of newspapering has taken a hit. It's not dead, but it's dying, especially in Africa, and so these outlets that are traditional and, excuse my language, old school, realize that they need to catch up, and so they are taking advantage of online platforms to exert and push themselves out there. Lots of them are paying attention to social media as well. What happens on Facebook? What happens on Instagram? What happens on Twitter? What happens on TikTok? Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm too young for TikTok, but then I'm 42, so I guess. But social media is giving a very powerful voice to the youth, and media is paying attention to that outlet. And I feel like these are some of the quick and immediate changes I notice, and it's for the good. It's for the good. It's giving everyone a run for their money. It's raising the bar. But of course, sometimes people take advantage of these good tools and outlets, and then we have the opposite as well. But you are responsible for your own story, so tell it in the best way you know how, and truth would always win.
With those words, award-winning journalist Mr. Oral Ofori, thank you for joining us on the National Press Club Update 1 podcast.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, Lincoln, and I look forward to future episodes with you.
You have been listening to Update 1, the official podcast of the National Press Club, the world's leading professional organization for journalists and a vigorous advocate of press freedom worldwide. If you have any questions or comments about Update 1, send an email to update1podcast@gmail.com.